She's getting.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to this meeting of the Finance Committee. Call it to order at 9 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolden. Commissioner Winfrey.
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg.
Here.
Commissioner Clemens.
Present.
Commissioner Avery.
Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker. Present. Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner Newman. Commissioner Peppin.
Present. I need approval of the minutes from our meeting of April 27th. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do we have any public comment to the committee? Do we have any public comment to the committee? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Communications to the committee, fiscal services. Crystal?
Have a handout in front of you that has the preliminary revenues for the fiscal year ending 2023 budget. Is there a clicker or is somebody over there driving this? Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I just saw it a second ago. You might have a PDF copy. I did it in PowerPoint. Okay. Yes, that's it. Okay. So on the first chart here, you'll see the 2022 budgeted revenue on the left-hand side. That's our amended budget for this fiscal year. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the projected revenue for fiscal year end 2023. Overall, the expected revenue is to decrease about 21 million. So from 134 million for 2022 down to 113 million for 2023. But if you look at the pie chart, you'll see federal revenue, that piece of the pie, is expected to go down about 13%. And that's 20.2 million of the total projected decrease of 21 million. And the reason for that is some of the ARPA projects and the premium pay in 2022, those won't recur in 2023. So the federal revenue obviously also has expenses tied to it because it's reimbursement based or it's the ARPA funds we got in advance to use for specific purposes. Some of that is local unit projects. So as we get closer to the end of this fiscal year, we'll be able to see where they're at. If they haven't spent it, we can reestablish those budgets in fiscal year end 2023. The next graph is a bar graph. This shows the actuals for 2020 and 2021, the budgeted amounts for 2022, and then the projected amounts for 2023. So you can see the projected increase in tax income there. We are waiting for the estimated rollbacks from equalization. So as soon as we have that, we will update those numbers. Again, the federal revenue, you see that steep decline. We just talked about why that happened. That does include 3 million of revenue replacement from ARPA, as was planned in our ARPA plan. The other item is the transfers in. You can see went down about 1.5 million from last year. That does not include a DTR transfer. We have had that in previous years. We are in close consultation with Treasurer's Office to see if that is a possibility. However, you may be aware of the lawsuit that they're working through right now related to foreclosures. So that's still kind of up in the air, and hopefully we'll have better information as we get closer to adopting the budget. The next graph or page just shows basically the key revenue assumptions that we just discussed as we went through the slides. I wanted you to have this for your notes just in case you wanted to refer back to it at any point in time. And then the last page, this just discusses the challenges that we're facing as we go into the expense side of the budget. We do have our annual employee costs continue to rise. We do have our raises that were negotiated on top of those step increases that those positions will receive as part of their process going forward. We have had required annual pension contribution increases. The last 2 fiscal years, it's been about $451,000 increase. We're still waiting on our actuarial evaluation for the most recent valuation to drop in that number. I'm hoping we're at the tipping point for our peak for pension. We don't have many people left that can retire and still be eligible for that benefit on the other side. So obviously, as people mature and drop out of the plan, those payments will continue to decrease on the other side. So I'm hoping we're getting to that tipping point with that. The VEBA funding for retiree healthcare, our corrective action plan that was filed with the state of Michigan, that amount will increase about $187,000 for next year, so we will have to fit that into the expense budget. It will be our first year of our principal payment on the Juvenile Justice Center bond. That's $1,275,000. We do have a bond that will be paid off in this fiscal year, but that's just about $362,000. So overall, our bond payments will go up about $913,000 for next year. And then capital needs. So we are working on the tower project to streamline and consolidate our space, but obviously that takes some expenses up front to be able to get that built out the way we need it to be able to consolidate space and hopefully going forward save money from that consolidation. Our preliminary expense budget will be available June 22nd. I know some people are calling asking why it takes so long. The biggest piece of our expense side is people. So we just, when we run the payroll this Friday, that will have the updated rates for healthcare. And that's a very large piece of our budget for active healthcare. So our financial analysts work to compile all that data. From there, it goes out to the departments. They review their budget. And we go back and forth with questions, and then that's when we have the department head hearings, and then it comes back to the board for final approval. So there's a lot of steps along the way to get those numbers ready for you. Any questions?
Any questions for Crystal? Commissioner Shoemaker?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Crystal. My question is this. If current spending stays the same as our 2022 budget year, how much of a deficit are we looking at?
Right now, our amended fund balance use for 2022 is about $760,000. The biggest piece of that, though, is the elevator amendment that went through for the new space. So we did have some assigned fund balance at the end of 2021 for capital projects. So at that point in time, if we can stick to that use of fund balance of $760,000, that's not so bad. But if we continue to increase that use of fund balance, then, and I'm projecting, the 2023 expense side is going to be using some fund balance too. So once we get to June 22nd, I'd have a better answer for you looking forward versus where we're at the moment.
Do you have a rough number?
For 2023?
Yeah.
Until I have, the people are about 70% of our budget, so until I have a good feel for that, I won't have a solid answer. But as soon as that comes in, even a preliminary amount, I could get you a
All right.
a
Thank you
projection
so
on that.
much.
Sure.
Anything else? Thank you, Crystal. Thank you.
Sure.
There's no old business before the committee. Under new business, we have animal control approval of a request. So it's been moved and it's been supported. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of a request to create, post, and fill one collection
No, go ahead.
specialist position at Genesee County Circuit Court. This position request is a result of a resignation.
Move it.
Moved. Is there support? And there's support. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under Community Corrections, we have approval of a request to create, post, and fill a social service worker at Genesee County's Community Corrections. This position, fully grant-funded, will be paid from account 2300-322-00702. Is there a motion?
I move it.
Moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Under Fiscal Services, we have forwarding to receive and file a copy of the paid county bills for the weeks ending 4/17 of '22 and 4/24 of '22 in a total amount of $370,546.93. Is there a
I move
motion?
it.
It's been moved. Is it supported?
Support.
Supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of request to create, post, and fill one fiscal services intern
Move it.
position. No additional appropriation needed. It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a couple. One, these are paid positions, correct?
Correct.
My next, if I may continue, is I get a little foggy on this because we've done it so many times. We still on a hiring freeze?
Yes.
But yet we're hiring these people for intern positions when our full-time staff is being told they can't have more full-time help. It looks very irresponsible to me. I'm sorry. I think it looks bad to our employees. And it looks bad to anybody who's seeking future employment here. On top of it, it looks bad to our residents because we say one thing and do another. We just keep hiring and hiring and hiring and hiring. You can slap a different label on it, but it's still a paid employee. And I'm sorry I didn't bring this up before. I just sat there thinking about this the other day and I went, oh my goodness. This is just another paid individual. Even though it's temporary, it may not be full-time. This is still an employee that is being paid. And every year we say we're going to cut during the budget process. We're saying we're going to cut during the year, and we keep adding on this staff. So, eventually something's got to give. You saw the report provided for us a couple weeks ago of our long-term legacy debt. We've also dipped into our reserve this year to pay the bills, somewhat about $1.4 million. When are we going to say enough's enough? We can't afford to go to the store and buy the top name brand of everything. We can't afford to keep adding to the cart, unfortunately, and throwing extra things in. And it's a little concerning to me when I asked for the meeting to go over those numbers of the $700 million we have long-term legacy debt that Ms. Davis and I were the only ones actually there to ask a little more in-depth questions on this. This is real. This is a real brick wall that's headed towards us. This is just a small amount, but guess what? If we are taking this seriously, which maybe we aren't, this type of hiring needs to be on a freeze also. Because how much long before you have to lay a police officer off or another person from the prosecutor's office off? Because guess what you just did? You keep hiring interns, dollar here, dollar there. And yes, it's in their budget, but eventually we had to cut. We said we were going to cut out of their budgets, these employees. We said we're going to reduce the cost that was put in each year. Every year we say that since I've been down here. And it doesn't happen. And this is why. So on this, I mean, I appreciate and understand what everyone's trying to do. I realize there's other underlying circumstances that people are trying to solve some other problems, but I'm a no on this for now. So thank you so much for your time, Mr. Chair.
Any other discussion?
So what I just realized I did not put in the memo, I had someone in my department that we had to terminate. And in lieu of replacing someone at an $80,000 cost, I was hoping we could try to, I have someone who thinks they can take on that full assignment, but until I'm sure of that, I would like to have an intern just to help fill that gap for $4,700 instead of $80,000. So I really was trying to look for a way to save money versus posting that again and trying to refill that position. So I just wanted that to also be part of the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Approval of request to amend Resolution 2021-937 to change an account number used for purchase of office supplies. It's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just a simple question. Why are we moving from one account to the other just to buy office supplies?
Derek here.
Yeah, I thought it was a clerical error, but either Derek or Crystal can speak to that better than I can.
So the request that's being made is for the health department. So they have a lot of programs that use different Staples supplies. And so when you do that original Staples purchase order and you're allocating it to all the accounts you think you're going to use, it ties up that budget. So if they're not going to use it over here and they need to move it over there, it's a lot of work for purchasing as well as the department to get those purchase orders increased or decreased. So we actually already do this for the G-card department. We're just asking that the health department can do the same thing. So they can put it in this one account number and then allocate it out to the other expense accounts as it's been used by that program. We'll still be monitoring budget to actual as those expenses are moved. It's just less time in the process for purchasing as well as the department to make sure it goes to the right spot.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Under G card, we have approval of a request to create, post, and fill one supervisor position. It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Is this a replacement of employee or is this actually a new hire?
Stephanie?
Morning. It is a replacement.
Okay, thank you.
Might as well stay, we got one more. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of request to create, post, and fill 4 clerical aid positions at Genesee County's Community Action Resource Department. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Stephanie. Under the medical examiner, approval of a contract between Genesee County and Nation Medical Services in an amount not to exceed $190,000 annually to provide toxicology services to Genesee County's medical examiner. The terms of this contract is 5/18 of '22 through 9/30 of 2025 with 2 one-year extensions. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move it.
Been moved and supported. Discussion. Commissioner Shoemaker.
I would just like to say how happy I am to see something brought to us before it actually expired. So, thank you. Good job to whoever worked on it.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under planning, we have approval of a proposed amendment to the 21-22 appropriations resolution reallocating expenditures and revenues within planning's budget to appropriately reflect program needs. Is there a motion to approve this?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Go to probate court.
Mr. Chairman, H1, they've requested to be dropped from the agenda.
Thank you. Approval of a request to create, post, and fill 1 part-time court clerk position at Genesee County's probate court. This request is a result of a recent promotion.
Move it.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Under the treasurer, we have forwarding from the Genesee County's treasurer to receive and file a copy of the second quarter. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the request to create, post, and fill 1 account clerk position at Genesee County's Office of the Treasurer. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any other business before this committee? Seeing none, I will adjourn this meeting at 9:19.
Commissioner Winfrey,
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens,
Present.
Commissioner Avery,
Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman, Commissioner Peppin.
Here.
Is motion for approval of the minutes?
Support.
Okay, is there any discussion, any corrections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any public comments to the committee? Any public comments? Third time, any public comments? Comments closed. Any communication? Old business, new business, information technology, approval of a purchase order to Zoom for the fiscal year ending 2022
Support.
in the amount of $17,000. Any discussion on this? Mr. Shoemaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One, is there not another service that is provided for less, like Teams and other stuff, or?
Yeah, Commissioner Mike DeWisha is here from IT, and he can speak to that more in depth than maybe I can.
Yes, there is. The problem is we're in a transition phase to Teams, so not all of our people who use Zoom currently have access to Teams, and we're planning on making that transition and doing the accompanying training and communication to get people to do the change management from Zoom to Teams. There's no guarantee that everyone can do that because we don't know necessarily what their use case is for Zoom. Often it's more difficult than it seems, but the plan definitely is to reduce dramatically our dependence on Zoom because we have Teams, and we are licensed for that mostly. I expect by mid to end summer, we'll have a very firm plan and a good idea of what that's going to look like, along with the dramatic reduction.
Go ahead.
If I may continue, is there a term to this contract? Obviously, there is, and it's ending in 2022, at the end of this year?
These are monthly, so we can add and remove accounts every month. This is an amount, it really should be a not to exceed. In fact, we just reduced one yesterday, we're reducing them daily. Right now, we have 63 individual accounts. As a matter of fact, before this month, we didn't know how many Zoom accounts there were. People were creating them on their own. So we gathered them countywide, and this is why it's being presented now, because we've actually been spending this money for a long time as a county, but we didn't have a centralized repository for it. Now we do. So now we're getting our arms around it and managing the reduction. But most of this, has been committed to already. These are ongoing individual accounts that have already been committed, been used, and we're asking to continue with this until we can reduce it.
Go ahead.
So, and forgive me, because I'm reading that it says for year ending 2022, the total is 17,000 till the year ending 2022? Correct?
Right, that's correct. I believe there's about 63 accounts, is that right, Mike?
Yes.
And they're $20 per account. So, just extrapolating that out through the end of the year, Mike and I have had that discussion that, let's stop paying for something that we don't need to pay for, right? So for me, for example, I had them cancel our Zoom account because I do have through Outlook the ability to use Teams. So that's what we're doing, is making sure that everybody that's on Outlook, and as we migrate them to that, that they have those permissions to use those Teams, which isn't costing us anything extra. But until we get to a point that we can actually do that, we need to continue to operate within those departments. So,
Go ahead.
I guess what I'm asking is the fact is, if this process to transfer everyone over to Teams actually happens faster, can we opt out of this?
Yes.
In the end, and actually
yeah, this is
save
like
some money?
Yeah, these are like month to month. So we're just trying to get a dollar amount for what we expect maybe it could be for the rest of the year. And then as we drop them off, for each person we dropped off, that's $19.99 a month that we're not paying anymore.
Forgive me, but we didn't meet over this in public work, so I've got a few questions. What's the difficulty of getting people off of Zoom and onto Teams? I'm trying to understand what the difficulty is, because you know, I'm not the most technologically advanced individual on this board, I guarantee it. But I would, you know, through interviews or other stuff where they've used Teams before, and actually I believe Flint Genesee Group uses Teams on top of it, you know, and I was able to log in and do it in a matter of, I think that 4 or 5 minutes before I actually had a meeting with them. I walked through the process, and I'm not real savvy, so I just wonder
Yeah.
what's the problem with us moving faster on this then, or why
Right.
can't we just implement it?
So somebody sends you an invite to Teams, it doesn't cost you anything to join Teams. For you to initiate a meeting with Teams, that's where the cost is for it. So your ability to initiate, you have to be set up within our system. The technical stuff Mike can speak to, but like anybody can join a Teams meeting. You don't have to have a Teams account.
I know, I understand that. It's just like Zoom. You got to, I understand that
But in order to
portion.
set that up, you have
But-
to do it.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is I just don't, are we having trouble getting departments and other people to tell us, or to find out who's actually using it so we know who to switch over, or?
No, Mike can speak to the technical side of it.
No, and it's, your thought process is the exact same thought process I have. You know, what's the difficulty? Why can't we just do this right away? And the answer is related to change management, is that it's disruptive to an organization, to an individual to say, you're changing this without really knowing how they're using it. And a lot of the gotchas with IT are about understanding how people are doing things. And I can't say I have any idea what people are doing with Zoom. They did it themselves, for reasons they thought up on their own, so I wasn't engaged in that process at all. I can tell you in the future, I'll have better answers for those questions, and I'll be better able to manage them because I'll be engaged with people when they do stuff like this. I'll tell you, I'll be here in the future many times with very similar circumstances. Well, I have no idea how we got here, but I'll tell you that the path forward is first corral, negotiate, manage, and then project a future that we want to have. And this is mostly past, not future. And so I would tell you we can try to accelerate things, but I'm balancing a dozen other requirements at the same time. I will say by mid to end summer, we will be there. And I can't say it'll be 100%. I know there are some places for whatever requirements, legal requirements, or just continuity, or basically their users, it would be very hard for them to do that change. I have to do that discovery, and I haven't had those conversations. There's 63 individuals I have to talk to, among other priorities I have to do that. But it is a priority.
And I'm sure part of your vision is actually training our staff and individuals on a lot of this technology that we're adding and stuff like that, or through modules or something like that. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, last question. This is in the budget for this current year?
These have been paid individually by everyone's account. They're not in the IT budget. Everyone created their own, they used a P card, whatever they did, set up an account for $20 a month. And we've been distributing it that way, paying centrally and distributing it to each individual user at $20 every month. We're about to change it in consultation with CFO to have a yearly true-up instead of this, intense amount of administrative overhead. We're doing that. So the answer is truly, it's not in the IT budget, it's in individual account holders' budgets.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Meredith, did you have any?
Got 'em all.
You got them all answered?
I would just like to
Okay.
see a breakdown of, because I didn't see any attachment of the breakdown of the cost and who, what departments are users, yeah.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 2, approval agreement between
Move it.
Genesee County and Access Interactive
Forward.
in the amount of $19,200. Any discussion? Mr. Shoemaker?
Was this sent out for bid?
No, this was not set out for bid.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Well, yeah, why?
So 19,200 doesn't require it. So your purchasing policy states that anything over $30,000 must go out for bid.
Go ahead.
Just a question for future references. Then why does it even come in front of us then? If that's the,
So we tried to make those changes last year, and the board decided that they didn't want to do that.
I remember.
So that's why it comes before you. Anything over $10,000 has to come before you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried. B, Parks and Recreation, approval of a purchase from R.J. Thomas
it.
Manufacturing Company.
Support.
Any discussion on that? Mr. Shoemaker?
I just was wondering what kind of picnic tables they are, just,
Okay, Mr. June will explain.
Pardon me. Ask Commissioner, what was your question?
I was just wondering what type of picnic tables they are. Are they wood, are they pine, what type?
Oh, so the, the frame is a tubular steel, and the wood is a treated lumber. Pretty good life expectancy, and when we brand them with our name and logo.
How often are you replacing these?
They can last quite a while, but sometimes we have, some get stolen and what have you, so I'm gonna say they probably last 20 years.
Is it something that you're actually bringing in the winter harsh months? They actually, or do they stay out year round?
No, they stay on the grounds.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. Have they ever used composite instead of treated wood?
No.
I know it's more expensive, but,
My
sometimes-
knowledge, there's no table manufacturer that provides composite
Okay,
on their picnic tables.
okay, all right, thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 2, approval of contract between Genesee County and Neil Woodward in an amount not to exceed $15,600 for music entertainment. There's a motion and it carried. Mr. Shoemaker?
Was this the only vendor we looked at for this?
No. We looked at several entertainers, but we couldn't find anybody that could provide services during the time period that we were looking for. So this is why we went with this particular one.
All right, thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any other business coming in front of the body? If not, meeting adjourned at 9:32.
Call this government operations, meeting order.
Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens,
Present. Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman, Commissioner Peppin,
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. I need a motion on the minutes from April 27th.
So move. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This time is set aside for public comments. Public comments once. Public comments twice. Public comment. State your name and
April Delore, Grand Blanc Township. So I have a question. I do want to understand why it is that we are paying like $30,000 for picnic tables when we could have like prisoners and things like that and work programs build things like that to save the cost of buying these. Why we're not enabling or teaching people who are in prison, jail, give them the skills that they can develop to do things for our community and give them something to build a resume on if we're really building them up to leave these institutions. And I mean, these are our tax dollars and we're paying $30,000 for picnic tables and grills. And who's gonna follow up with that money? And how do we know what's actually being done is really what's being done? So what my question is that who's gonna track that money and how we know that that's really what it's costing? And why is this such an important thing to have upgraded stuff when we have $30,000 we could be doing other things with? Giving skills to people that need skills, putting money into our veterans, putting money into teaching programs, something, but we're spending $30,000 on grills and picnic tables. It's like the $80,000 that we're spending on landscaping and flowers and whatever for the buildings that we talked about a month or two ago, when we can be having prisoner and work programs do that like they used to earn the keep while they're in there and give them skills to build on when they get out. These are things that we need to start considering. We can't just give everybody that's in jail or prison free ride when the rest of us are out here struggling to pay our bills and buy groceries and put gas in our vehicles, and they're allotted a daily of everything. We need to start considering this. If you really care about the people of this county, you need to consider where this money is going and why it's going there and who's going to track it, because I want that stuff FOIA'd. Because I'm appalled to think that our county money is going for those things when we're not giving skills for anybody to get out and do anything different with their lives. So we need to consider those programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments? You have 2 minutes.
Tara Phillips, Linden, Michigan. I'm going to piggyback on that. I know this is not the proper meeting. You can tell we, the people, are learning as we go. We're learning a lot, learning our laws, learning our rules, and it is very clear that you guys up here do work for we, the people. I'm not sure if everybody up here is aware of that yet. But I will be emailing the proper commissioner, because I do want to see a list of every park in Genesee County where these picnic tables are going at. So we can have one of our patriots follow up and make sure there's a picnic table in every park that this board has agreed upon to spend our tax dollars at. If you're looking, this is not the proper time in our economy to approve picnic tables. Inflation is happening all around us. Just like I said before with the $7,500 bonus, this board needs to go into your small businesses and see what is happening within your community. Has anybody taken the time to do that yet? Have you walked in the doors of your community? We have this half of the board that votes one way. We have 2 people over here that vote, that I would say for the people. This needs to change. Needs to change. You guys work for us.
Thank you for your comments. Public comments twice, public comments 3 times. Public comments are now over. Commissioner Shoemaker.
I'll be glad to answer some questions for these residents afterwards of kind of the way Parks budget works and everything else like that, if they'd be willing to stay after with me. So
All right, sound good, thank you. We have no communications, no old business. Under new business, Chief Public Defender, 1, approval of modification number 3 for a contract between Genesee County and Kevin L. Rush for the amount not to exceed $112,000 for a revised contract of $448,000 to provide misdemeanor. Move it. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Yes, sir. Commissioner Shoemaker.
on basically all of them, I've noticed they're all modifications. Can we just kind of have an explanation of
Yes, the Chief Public Defender is there.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I did not hear your question.
I just noticed they were all modifications, and I was just wondering the reason for these all being just modified instead of new contracts.
We initially began in 2019, three-year contracts with one-year extensions for each year. So this is the third and final extension for that, for these contracts.
After this, do you believe we'll actually go out and seek out new contracts?
We always put these out for bid, so of course we will.
All right, thank you.
Okay? Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to number 2, modification number 3 for a contract between Genesee County and First Appearance PLLC.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
I was just gonna, since they're all modifications, see if everybody was happy with moving 1 or 2 through 6, but
Okay,
that.
okay. There's been substitute motion to move 2 through 6. Are you okay with that? Been moved and supported. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I don't have any other business. Do anybody else have anything? If not, we are adjourned.
9:41 a.m. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolden,
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey,
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens,
Present.
Commissioner Avery,
Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman, Commissioner Peppin.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the minutes for April 27th.
Move it.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported on the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Are there any public comments to this committee? Any public comments to this committee? Any public comments to this committee? There are no communications, no old business, new business, G card. Approval of an agreement between Genesee County and Oakland. Been properly moved. Is there support? Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Number 2, approval to submit a waiver request to the Head Start Regional Office to offset contribution rates. Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Approval of a request to submit an application for the Head Start, Early Head Start, COLA, and Quality Improvement Supplemental of Application, properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Number 4, approval of a request to submit an application for the Early Head Start.
Support.
Same thing, okay. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item B, Health Department, approval of a request by Genesee County's Health Department.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Item C, Veterans, approval of a request by the Genesee County Office of Veterans Affairs to travel to the National Association.
Support.
Been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor, I'm sorry, Commissioner Shoemaker.
I was, and breakdown like we normally get before. Apologize if it is. How many people are going then? Because I don't see, I still.
Three people are going. The director, the deputy director, and their position they call the administrator.
Okay, Commissioner Shoemaker, go ahead.
I'm just looking at the cost of the airline. We couldn't have flown Spirit or something like that, you know? I'm just, you know, that's a bit for travel. I'm just wondering, do we shop around these airlines? Do we actually, there's some companies that, actually work with,
Okay, there's someone who can answer your question.
do we shop around these tickets?
We definitely did. Those were actually last month's prices, so I can only imagine that they're going to be more expensive. And then the travel time didn't really meet in conjunction with the agenda. Like, we would get to San Antonio at like 10 o'clock at nighttime on Sunday and then not get home that Friday until midnight. It was very strange, long, like 13-hour flights.
I may continue. Is there any thought to actually fly out of Detroit? Because sometimes it is a ton less.
I mean, yeah, we could definitely explore
If
any
by the next meeting, you
option.
guys could just look into look into flying out of there? Not that it's a ton of money, but, you know, every dollar helps, and we say we're looking after taxpayer dollars, that would be,
Absolutely.
you know.
Commissioner Davis.
That was my question. I'm assuming flying out of Detroit is significantly cheaper.
Okay, any further discussion?
Just may I
ahead.
add one thing? In the future, I've worked for different companies before that actually have agreements with, they're almost like travel coordinators, but they actually give you a discount on things like rental cars and so on and so forth, airlines, hotels, and, you know, there's been quite a big significant savings. I wonder if we've ever looked, this is Mr. Freeman, if we've ever actually looked into contracting with that, so our employees that are staffed for these trips. In addition, they allow the employees to use them for actual personal use after the fact, so they actually receive a savings if they were to actually go on vacation or anything else like that. So I'm just wondering if we've ever looked into that.
I have not, but I'll work with purchasing to look into it.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Is there any other business before this committee? Hearing none, we adjourn at 9.
At 9:47 a.m. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolden,
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey,
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens,
Present.
Commissioner Avery,
Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman, Commissioner Peppin. We do have a quorum.
Right. Moving on to approval of the minutes from the April 13th meeting.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to public comment to the committee. Public comment going once.
April Delora, Grand Blanc Township, again learning. So I do have a question. As I am an early childhood education expert, I would really like to know what the COLA program is through Head Start, since I've not been in the loop for a few years. And why it is we're spending almost $3,000 on a diapering program. We have a lot of resources in our county for diapers. I don't know why we have a diapering program and who's gonna track that and why we're spending $3,000 for that. I know when I had children, I had to pay for my children's diapers, and I'm not trying to be cold about this, but there are lots of ways to get diapers for a program other than spending $3,000. And also, to piggyback on the veterans, the travel, I'm glad that you addressed that, Sean and Meredith, because I was wondering the same thing. Why can't we find a way to get flights cheaper than what we're spending up there of almost over $8,000? So I'm just kind of curious how we're going to track these programs and how much we're spending and who's in charge of that. Because there's a lot of ways that we can get away with not tracking things like diapers if we're not doing it properly. And that money would be spent in other ways. So I would like to know how and who all that's happening and what COLA means. If somebody could answer those questions for me, that would be great. I'd really appreciate that. I do have lots of time spent in preschool. I also worked in the Head Start program for a short period of time. Not that I agree with every aspect of it, but I'm kind of wondering why we're putting our own money in diapers. Thank you.
Just so you know, the diaper program is money that we're getting, $3,000 we're getting, but we'll address that after if you want to say.
Okay, thank you.
Tara Phillips, Linden, Michigan. This is in regards to the prior meeting, but I actually think it's crazy that we're in 2022 and this board, or whose ever responsibility it is, has not looked into seeing if you can get discounts through hotels, booking, flight. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. We've been coming since August. Now, mind you, the commissioner meeting since August, and we missed a few. I've seen a lot of approval of flights, of hotels, and thank you, Sean, for bringing it up again. That should be a no-brainer we're in 2022 to figure out if discounts can be given, if we're allowing anybody who works for the government, anybody who is employed by Genesee County to travel. So I'm looking forward, I'll also email you, I'm looking forward to hearing. And yes, if you do look up flights, it is technically cheaper for the most part to fly out of Detroit. I fly, maybe not the past 2 years, but we typically drive down to Detroit versus flying out of Flint to save a couple $100. So, and I believe that would be your taxpayer dollars that you're saving. So, thank you.
Okay, any further public comments? Going once, twice, public comments now closed. Moving on to communications, we have a CARES Act update.
Good morning. This is just an update on how we have allocated the CARES Act funding that came from the Department of Housing and Urban Development through the ESG and Community Development Block Grant Program. So that's just giving you an update on where we stand with things.
Any discussion on this? Okay, moving on to new business. Item 1, approval of a request by Genesee County's Metropolitan Planning Commission
I
to
move it.
commit to up to $1 million to home funds for Community First. It's been moved and is supported. Any discussion? Sean?
Sorry about that. I do have some questions. First question is this $1 million that's being loaned out to someone we've loaned it to before?
No, we have not loaned anything to this organization before.
Go ahead.
Is this organization done something like this project before, so we know it's going to be successful?
Yes, they have quite a bit of experience in doing projects like this, mostly in the city of Flint. I think they've done some other projects in other parts of Michigan as well, but this would be the first one in the out county, outside of the city, within Genesee County.
I saw several numbers in there, and my question is, for those who aren't familiar with this, is this something anybody can apply for, this $1 million loan, or, I mean?
So the funding, the home funding is set up to help to develop affordable housing. So it's funding that comes from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Funding generally goes to developers, both for-profit and nonprofit. I would say most of the organizations we've worked with have been nonprofit agencies. Obviously, they'd have to show the ability to be able to do these sorts of projects, but generally they go through a developer.
What guarantees that these, is there something in the paperwork that actually guarantees these people will keep this housing low income and keep the cost affordable for those people?
As part of the home funding portion of this, so there's a lot of funding involved. Obviously, this is a large-scale project. So for the home funding portion through the county, there is a requirement that under a newly constructed project that they have to keep it affordable for 20 years. So that is part of the contract language. They're also receiving tax credits through the state housing authority. Generally, that's a 30-year sort of setup where they have to guarantee that things will be kept affordable for 30 years in a lot of cases, but under the home funds, there is a 20-year requirement for that.
Forgive me for being naive. Who determines what's affordable though? Because what's affordable to me, or someone else who's working at Jimmy John's on Miller Road, let's say,
Right.
is not affordable, to someone who's just struggling to get by and even, maybe requiring government assistance. So
Right.
what-
So,
who determines that number or how's that figured, do you know?
So for these funds, the Department of Housing and Urban Development every year provides us an annual listing of rents that are approved for that. I mean, obviously, different programs have different things, but under home, we get an annual kind of listing of what, based on the size of the unit, 1, 2, or 3 bedroom, this is the maximum rent that could be charged for that. And then each year, we make sure that these developments are following those rental limits. So it is something that we monitor throughout the project.
So it's based on what's actually going around, comparables around it?
I would
Or-
assume that's how they do that, yeah, and just evaluate.
Well, that could be, because, in some areas of the country, you're seeing, I watched a woman who's, was laid off from COVID. She got 3 kids, and guess what? The landlord, I forget what city it was in, raised her rent like $700, because comparables, and this was very similar
These
situation. So
rent
it's-
limits are actually based on each county, each city, so it's, we're not being compared to San Diego or whatever that might be.
No, and this was evidently local, but if you have a growth, I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to protect people. We're supposed to, be doing this. And then one of my other questions, if I may continue, is where's the $1 million coming from?
So we get an annual allocation of home funds from HUD each year. It depends. I mean, we get, I don't know, 800,000 some years. We've gotten 500,000. So these funds are actually coming from multiple years. We haven't had a lot of large-scale home projects the last few years, so these funds will come from, I think, 3 different funding years, which we are allowed to do that, kind of combine the dollars together. So it's funding that we currently have.
I just have one more. And you can answer me later if you would get with me. I'd just like to know is there any programs like this where we're receiving these funds to help people with home ownership?
So the home dollars can be used for different types of things. One of them is new construction. We also have a down payment assistance program to help people to pay closing costs and those fees when they're buying their first home. We've also provided what's called gap financing, where we've constructed new homes and provided assistance to help low to moderate income homeowners kind of fill that gap to make the home more affordable. So there's different options that we have with these dollars.
And you don't have to do it today, but if somebody could get me I'd love to see that, because with the cost of housing going up, and especially our lower income families, they don't have 50, 60 grand to pay over the selling price of the actual home. And I wondered how much was available to help these people and what we were doing. So if you could just no rush, I would just like to know that someday. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Clemens?
So one thing about affordable housing that I just wanted to bring up, so when we're talking about these affordable housing units, it's not a set price that a developer sets. Affordable housing is set by the percentage of income that a person makes, and individuals that are low income have to apply. So for most places, it's like 30% of what their income is. So if you and I were both low income folks, we might actually be paying different for the same amount of affordable housing, because it's based on an income threshold, not just what the property values are around, but that is a part of the equation. But there is an application process you have to apply and get involved in.
And if I'm wrong, in the backup, it basically, this is going toward over a $14 million project.
Correct, yeah.
And, the average rental for between a 1-bedroom and 3-bedroom was between $700 and $1,200. And I know, my, granddaughter, it fits that lower income, and to rent a house, she's paying $700. And then that doesn't include her electrical and her water and sewer. So, to live in, and we have these places at other places, like, Grand Blanc has one that's based on your income. And, like if you're military, you get special discounts too. So it will be followed closely by the Home
Right.
Act. So, all right, thank you.
Charles? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this project would definitely be a facelift. And as a former Mott Park resident, this is right at the gateway of Mott Park off of Flushing Road. And if you look to the right, as you turn onto Orchard Lane, you'll see these dilapidated apartments that they're going to rehabilitate and upgrade, you know, to make that whole area appear better.
Right across the street,
So there'd be a definite facelift.
right across the street from Old Coolidge School.
Commissioner Shoemaker?
And forgive me, I'm just trying to, like I said, this is new to me, and this is why I kind of like the format we were going to have before, where it's more casual, where questions are allowed. I'm a student of government still. I don't know everything, and I still constantly trying to learn. So forgive me. I know people want to go, but one of the questions I have is, and thank you, Commissioner Clemens, is who covers that difference then between, let's say, example, like you said, you and I, in that? Is it the federal government that pays the actual difference from that to this property owner? Is that how it works then, the difference?
I believe HUD does that, but that's where a lot of these dollars come from when the federal government in HUD, it's the subsidy that the government is providing for the difference in that housing.
Well, and not that I'm opposed to this, because I think that area can show incredible growth down there, but we're still talking taxpayer dollars. We always say it's coming from HUD, or it's coming from this, it's coming from that, but in essence, guess what? We all are paying the bill. You know, and so that's what makes me wonder what these people we're involved with or we're backing as, yeah, they might be fair and it might be helping the people that are there, but is it helping the taxpayer on top of it from that standpoint? So that's why I have some of these questions, because it, you know, and I like to hear that the values are placed on what's around it and so on. But I appreciate everybody answering my questions. Like I said, I'm sure I'll have a bunch more, but I love a forum like this where we can actually talk and discuss what's out there beforehand. So I appreciate it, and I'm excited to see it develop down there, because I think there's a lot of good things going on that could go on in that area there, and it definitely, there's some more that could be done down there also, but thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to item 2, approval of a proposed amendment to
Move
the
it.
2021-2022 appropriations resolution. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 3, approval of a request to amend Resolution 2022-97 to update an account number. All other items within the resolution remain the same.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Shoemaker?
I just wondered what the upgrade was, so from there.
This is just moving the project under an account number for the CARES Act funding.
Was this the cooling system? Is that
Correct,
what it was?
yeah.
So we're just, there's no additional funding, it's just, okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Any other business? Nope. Seeing none, we stand adjourned at 10:04 a.m.